High Commander Zixtol stood beneath the protective field of their atmospheric shield, watching raindrops scatter against the invisible barrier. Below the landing platform, human cadets continued their morning formations despite the thunderstorm that painted the sky in brilliant flashes of light. The commander's sensory appendages twitched with curiosity as they noticed none of the cadets activated personal shields against the weather. Colonel Sarah Chen approached the alien delegation with measured steps, her uniform pristine despite the rain. "Welcome to West Point, High Commander. We are honored by your visit to our institution." The commander noted how she maintained perfect posture while water streamed down her face, showing no discomfort. "Most fascinating," Zixtol responded through their translator. "Your cadets continue training in these adverse conditions." Their inner eyelids blinked rapidly as lightning illuminated the parade grounds. "Of course, Commander. Weather is a constant factor in military operations. Our cadets learned early that nature is neither ally nor enemy, merely a condition to adapt to." Colonel Chen gestured toward the main building. "Shall we begin the tour?" The alien delegation followed her through the grand stone archway of the central building. Zixtol's scientific officer, Venra, scanned the structure with barely concealed confusion. "This building appears to be constructed from primitive materials." A passing cadet overheard the comment and politely interjected, "The cornerstone was laid in 1892, sir. We maintain the historic architecture while incorporating modern facilities within." The cadet's perfect bearing and confident but respectful tone caught Zixtol's attention. "You are permitted to speak to visiting dignitaries?" the commander asked, surprised by the initiative. "When appropriate, sir. Part of our training includes diplomatic interaction and situational awareness. I noticed your officer's interest in our architecture and thought the information might be relevant to your visit." The cadet's response was immediate and articulate. Colonel Chen smiled slightly. "Thank you, Cadet Martinez. Carry on." The young human saluted sharply and continued their path with practiced precision. As they proceeded through the halls, Zixtol observed more cadets going about their duties. Each one they passed stood at attention and rendered appropriate courtesies, their movements synchronized as if guided by invisible signals. The commander's threat assessment officer, Krelax, made nervous chittering sounds. "Something concerns you, Officer Krelax?" Zixtol inquired. "Their response time, Commander. Each human reacts to our presence in exactly 0.73 seconds. Such precision usually requires neural implants, yet I detect no technology assisting them." Colonel Chen led them into a vast hall lined with portraits. "This is our command center for mission simulations. Those are images of past commanders and notable graduates. We believe in remembering those who helped shape our traditions of excellence." Zixtol approached one portrait, studying the aged face depicted there. "You display images of deceased leaders. For what purpose?" "History shapes the future, Commander. Every cadet who walks these halls learns from those who came before. Their successes, their failures, all become teaching tools." Colonel Chen paused as another crack of thunder shook the windows. Even now, cadets are conducting simulated operations in weather conditions similar to the current storm. "Would you like to observe?" Before Zixtol could respond, a group of mud-covered cadets marched past the windows, singing in perfect harmony despite their exhausted appearance. Their uniforms were soaked and dirty, yet they moved with the same precision as their clean counterparts inside. "Those cadets appear to require maintenance," Venra observed with concern. Colonel Chen's expression remained professional, but a hint of pride crept into her voice. "They've just completed a 12-hour training exercise in the rain. The singing is traditional. It builds unit cohesion and morale." Zixtol's translator struggled to process the concept. "They express joy after enduring deliberate hardship. Hardship is the best teacher, Commander. Now, shall we proceed to observe the ongoing simulations? I believe you'll find our training methods quite illuminating." The alien commander cast one last look at the singing cadets outside, their vocal harmonies carrying clearly through the storm. For the first time since landing, Zixtal felt a strange sensation in their neural clusters, something the translator eventually identified as unease. The simulation chamber fell silent as High Commander Zixtal entered with Colonel Chen. Below the observation deck, 20 cadets were engaged in what appeared to be ritualistic combat movements. Their bodies flowed in perfect synchronization, performing complex martial arts forms without any technological assistance. "This is our Advanced Combat Integration class," Colonel Chen explained, noting the aliens' puzzled expressions. "We combine traditional martial arts with modern warfare techniques." A cadet instructor noticed the delegation and called out, "Class, demonstrate Scenario Delta." Without hesitation, the cadets smoothly transitioned from their forms into a complex tactical formation. Half drew training weapons while others activated holographic interfaces around their forearms. Most peculiar, Venra commented, adjusting their sensory inputs. "They alternate between archaic physical combat and advanced systems. Why not specialize in one methodology?" Before Colonel Chen could respond, the instructor below initiated the scenario. Suddenly, all holographic systems flickered and died. Without missing a beat, the cadets switched to hand signals and continued their exercise, adapting instantly to the loss of technology. "That answers your question," Colonel Chen said with a subtle smile. "Technology can fail. The human body and mind, properly trained, are more reliable." The demonstration continued as robotic training drones emerged from the walls. The cadets split into smaller teams, some engaging in close combat, while others used the environment for cover. Zixtal's appendages twitched as they watched humans seamlessly switch between fighting styles. "Observe their tactical flexibility," Colonel Chen pointed out. "Each cadet is trained to fill multiple roles. If a team loses their communication specialist, another can take over. If their heavy weapons expert is incapacitated, the team adapts." A cadet demonstrated this point by disabling a drone with a sophisticated electronic warfare suite, then immediately transitioning to hand-to-hand combat when another drone closed in. The flowing movements from earlier now revealed their lethal purpose. "Your species practices redundancy in individual warriors," Kreelax asked, their threat assessment protocols working overtime. "This seems inefficient compared to specialized units." The instructor below called out new parameters, and the cadets instantly regrouped. Those who had been fighting with advanced technology now protected their teammates who were hacking enemy systems. The roles had completely reversed in seconds. "We don't call it redundancy," Colonel Chen corrected. "We call it adaptability. Each cadet learns that their primary weapon system might always be their mind and body. Everything else is supplementary." A cadet demonstrated this philosophy by using a fallen drone as an improvised shield, while simultaneously guiding their team through enemy fire using hand signals. The level of coordination without technological assistance visibly disturbed the alien delegation. But how do they process multiple combat methodologies without neural enhancement? Venra asked, their scientific curiosity overtaking their unease. The simulation reached its climax as the cadets faced off against a larger drone designed to simulate an armored vehicle. Instead of retreating, they combined ancient wrestling techniques with modern explosives handling. One team created a diversion using their remaining tech, while others closed in using blind spots their bodies had been trained to recognize. "Human beings are natural pattern recognizers," Colonel Chen explained as the cadets disabled the large drone through a combination of physical skill and tactical knowledge. "Our brains naturally draw connections between different forms of combat. We don't need neural enhancement. We need only proper training to unlock our inherent capabilities." The simulation ended with the cadets immediately falling back into formation, their breathing controlled despite the intense exercise. Some bore bruises or minor cuts, yet their discipline never wavered. "They accept physical damage during training?" Zixtal asked, noticing that none of the cadets had activated personal shield generators during the exercise. "How else would they learn their limits?" Colonel Chen responded. "More importantly, how else would they learn to exceed them?" As they left the simulation chamber, Zixtal noticed something that their species would consider impossible. The cadets were smiling despite their injuries, showing what humans called pride in their accomplishments. The commander made a private note. Humans view physical hardship as a path to improvement rather than a failure of protection protocols. Military tactics must be revised accordingly. The Military History Center gleamed with a mix of old and new, displaying ancient weapons alongside modern holographic battle recreations. High Commander Zixtal paused before a glass case containing what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons from various eras. Each weapon tells a story, Colonel Chen explained, gesturing to the collection. From bronze swords to plasma rifles, we study how each innovation changed warfare. More importantly, we study why those changes occurred. A group of cadets gathered around a large holographic table, their faces illuminated by a recreation of what Zixtal recognized as a planetary invasion scenario. To the commander's surprise, the simulation appeared to show ancient wooden ships alongside modern spacecraft. "Instructor Thompson," Colonel Chen called out, "would you explain to our guests what your class is studying?" The instructor, a tall woman with silver hair and keen eyes, nodded. "We're analyzing the parallel strategies between the D-Day landings of World War II and the Mars colony liberation of 2147. Despite centuries of technological advancement, the fundamental principles remain surprisingly similar." Zixtal's scientific officer, Venra, moved closer to the holographic display. "You compare primitive naval warfare to modern space combat. What possible relevance could such ancient tactics have?" A cadet respectfully raised her hand before speaking. "Sir, the principles of beach landing craft protecting vulnerable troops during the Normandy invasion directly influenced the design of our modern planetary assault shields. History taught us that the moment of landing is always when forces are most vulnerable, regardless of technology level." The hologram shifted to show both scenarios side by side. The similarities in formation and approach patterns were undeniable, despite the vast technological gap. Another cadet pointed out how ancient smokescreen tactics had evolved into modern sensor jamming techniques. "Most fascinating," Zixtal observed. "You preserve knowledge of outdated warfare methods to inform modern strategy." Colonel Chen guided them to another display showing various battle formations throughout history. "Nothing is ever truly outdated, Commander. The Roman turtle formation might have used physical shields, but its principles inform our current dropship deployment patterns." The delegation moved through the center, passing cadets engaged in intense discussions about battles fought centuries apart. Each station showed how humans adapted ancient wisdom to modern challenges. A young cadet was explaining how ancient guerrilla warfare tactics have been modified for asteroid belt combat. "Your species seems unusually focused on learning from past conflicts," Krelax noted, their threat assessment protocols struggling to categorize this approach. "Our tactical databases only maintain current generation warfare methods. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it," Colonel Chen quoted. "Every military advancement, every strategic innovation came at a cost. We study history to honor those sacrifices and to ensure we never waste the lessons they taught us." They stopped before a wall displaying images of Earth's many battlefields, now transformed into peaceful memorials. "These sites serve as both warning and inspiration," Colonel Chen continued. "They remind us that war has consequences and that our duty is to be prepared not just with technology, but with wisdom." A cluster of cadets nearby were debating the similarities between ancient siege warfare and modern planetary blockades. Their animated discussion incorporated principles from Sun Tzu alongside cutting-edge space combat doctrine. "You encourage them to question established tactics?" Zixtal asked, noting how the instructors seemed to foster these discussions rather than suppress them. "Questions lead to innovation," Colonel Chen replied. "Today's cadet asking why we can't improve a 1,000-year-old strategy might be tomorrow's commander developing a breakthrough in modern warfare." As they prepared to leave the center, Zixtal noticed a prominent quote etched into the wall. "The future of warfare will be shaped by those who understand its past." The commander added another note to their growing report. Human military doctrine exhibits dangerous adaptability. They view their entire violent history not as a series of obsolete methods, but as a vast database of combat knowledge ready to be modified for modern use. The sound of cadets still debating historical battle strategies echoed behind them as they moved to their next destination, each discussion bridging centuries of warfare experience into practical modern applications. The tactical problem-solving chamber resembled a massive warehouse, filled with various obstacles, equipment, and scenarios. High Commander Zixtal watched as a team of cadets faced their latest challenge, a simulated reactor leak with all standard repair equipment mysteriously malfunctioning. "Begin Scenario Epsilon," the instructor announced. "Your objective is to prevent catastrophic reactor failure. Standard protocols and equipment are unavailable. Time starts now." Colonel Chen motioned to the observation deck's analytical displays. "We place our cadets in situations where normal solutions are impossible. It forces them to think beyond established parameters." The cadets quickly surveyed their surroundings. Instead of panicking at the lack of proper tools, they began gathering seemingly unrelated items: exercise equipment, cleaning supplies, and pieces of training gear. Within minutes, they had created an improvised cooling system using water coolers and modified gymnastics mats. "Most irregular," Venra commented, their sensory appendages twitching. "They deviate from standard emergency procedures without hesitation. How do you prevent chaos from such unpredictability?" Below, the cadets had split into teams. One group was using modified sports equipment to create a makeshift radiation shield, while another repurposed communication devices to monitor radiation levels. Their solution bore little resemblance to any standard reactor maintenance protocol. "We teach frameworks, not fixed responses," Colonel Chen explained. "Each cadet learns to understand the principles behind why solutions work, rather than memorizing specific procedures. Watch what happens next," the instructor suddenly announced. Additional complication. Gravitational systems are now failing. Without missing a beat, the cadets adapted their impromptu tools for zero-gravity operations, using their knowledge of physics to modify their approach. "Remarkable," Zixtal observed. "They appear to be solving multiple problems simultaneously, each cadet contributing different insights to the overall solution." A cadet had discovered that a broken cleaning drone could be modified to safely handle radioactive material. Another team figured out how to use physical fitness equipment to create a pulley system for moving heavy objects in the failing gravity. "Innovation often comes from unexpected places," Colonel Chen said. "We encourage our cadets to understand everything around them as a potential tool or solution. Nothing is useless in the right context." The scenario reached a critical point as the simulated radiation levels spiked. Instead of retreating, the cadets implemented their unorthodox solution. They had created a working containment system from equipment never designed for such a purpose. Krelax's threat assessment protocols were working overtime. They succeed by ignoring standard safety protocols and equipment specifications. This seems dangerously chaotic. On the contrary, Colonel Chen responded, they succeed by understanding the underlying principles so well that they can apply them using whatever tools are available. That's not chaos. It's the highest form of order. The cadets completed their task with 2 minutes to spare. The instructor's evaluation revealed that their improvised solution, while unconventional, had actually performed better than standard procedures in some aspects. You reward them for disobeying standard protocols? Zixtal asked, watching as the instructor praised particularly creative solutions. We reward them for understanding when and why to deviate from standard procedures, Colonel Chen corrected. In real combat situations, you rarely have ideal conditions or proper equipment. The ability to adapt and overcome is often the difference between success and failure. As the cadets began preparing for their next scenario, Zixtal noticed something distinctive about their behavior. Despite the pressure and unorthodox nature of their solutions, they maintained perfect military discipline. Their creativity was channeled, not chaotic. The commander added to their growing report, Human problem-solving methodology defies conventional tactical prediction. They view established procedures as guidelines rather than absolute protocols, making their responses to crisis situations dangerously unpredictable. Shall we proceed to the next demonstration? Colonel Chen asked, noting the alien delegation's unsettled demeanor. Behind her, the cadets were already tackling a new scenario, their minds transforming everyday objects into solutions that no tactical manual had ever conceived. High Commander Zixtal entered what appeared to be a serene study hall, a stark contrast to the previous demonstrations. Cadets sat at various stations, some deeply focused on holographic battlefield simulations, while others huddled over ancient wooden boards covered with black and white pieces. "Welcome to our Strategic Development Center," Colonel Chen announced quietly, respecting the concentrated atmosphere. "Here we train our cadets to think several moves ahead, combining intuition with analytical planning." A young cadet caught Zixtal's attention as she simultaneously played chess against 3 opponents while monitoring a complex space battle simulation. Her neural patterns, visible to the commander's advanced sensors, showed remarkably synchronized activity across multiple brain regions. "This cadet appears to be dividing her cognitive resources," Venra noted with scientific interest. "Is this not inefficient compared to focused single-task processing?" The cadet moved a chess piece without looking at the board, her eyes fixed on the space battle simulation, where she was coordinating a complex flanking maneuver. "Checkmate in 3, she announced to one opponent, never shifting her gaze from the primary tactical display. "Multitasking increases neural plasticity," Colonel Chen explained. "By engaging in multiple strategic challenges simultaneously, our cadets develop faster decision-making capabilities and improved pattern recognition." Another station showed cadets engaged in a game called Go, while receiving rapid-fire tactical updates through their neural interfaces. They processed and responded to battlefield changes while maintaining complex board strategies, their minds working on multiple levels. "But how do primitive board games enhance modern combat capabilities?" Krelax asked, their threat assessment protocols struggling to find military applications in the peaceful scene. A senior instructor approached, carrying one of the wooden chessboards. "These primitive games have taught military strategy for thousands of years. Chess teaches long-term planning and resource management. Go teaches territory control and influence projection. Each game strengthens different aspects of strategic thinking." The delegation watched as cadets rotated between stations, moving from ancient strategy games to modern combat simulations without breaking their concentration. Each transition seemed to build upon the previous exercise, creating layers of strategic understanding. "Observe this group." Colonel Chen directed their attention to a corner where cadets were engaged in what appeared to be a crisis simulation. "They're managing a planetary defense scenario using principles learned from these board games. The ability to see patterns, anticipate opponent moves, and think systematically transfers directly to modern warfare." A cadet stood up from her chess match and immediately began advising on the crisis simulation, applying the same strategic principles in a seamless transition. The aliens watched as she identified a pattern in the enemy's movement based on her understanding of chess positioning. "Your species deliberately creates cognitive stress to improve decision-making?" Zixtal asked, noting how instructors occasionally increase the difficulty of simulations mid-scenario. "The mind is like any other muscle," Colonel Chen replied. "It grows stronger when challenged. We push our cadets to think faster, deeper, and more creatively than they believe possible." The delegation passed a holoscreen displaying neural activity maps of the training cadets. The patterns were unlike anything in the aliens' tactical databases, complex, adaptive, and distinctly human. "Most concerning," Venra muttered to Zixtal. "Their cognitive adaptation rate exceeds our predictive models. Each new challenge seems to enhance their capabilities rather than exhaust them." The commander watched as another cadet completed a series of strategic exercises that combined elements from ancient and modern warfare. Their neural patterns showed increasing complexity rather than fatigue. "The mind can be the greatest weapon or the greatest vulnerability," Colonel Chen concluded. We train our cadets to ensure it becomes the former. Zixtal made another entry in their report. Human military training extends beyond physical and technological preparation. Their emphasis on cognitive development produces warriors capable of processing and adapting to tactical situations in ways our current combat doctrine cannot predict. As they prepared to leave, the commander noted that the seemingly peaceful study hall had demonstrated something far more formidable than any weapon system: the limitless adaptability of the human mind. The rain had intensified as High Commander Zixtal's delegation approached the outdoor training grounds. Through the downpour, they observed cadets navigating an obstacle course that seemed deliberately designed to push the boundaries of human endurance. This is our advanced physical development sector, Colonel Chen explained, her uniform already soaked, but her bearing unchanged. Here, cadets learn to overcome their perceived limitations. A group of trainees was completing their 24th hour of continuous operations. Despite visible exhaustion, they maintained precise movements as they scaled walls, crossed razor wire fields, and carried heavy equipment through muddy terrain. These humans have exceeded their normal operational limits, Venra observed, monitoring their vital signs. Yet they continue to perform complex tasks with acceptable precision. A cadet team leader coordinated their group through a particularly challenging obstacle, their voice steady despite having been awake for over a day. They methodically helped each team member through, ensuring no one was left behind. You intentionally deprive them of rest? Zixtal asked, watching as instructors added new complications to the course. This seems counterproductive to optimal performance. Colonel Chen gestured toward a cadet who had fallen but immediately rose, covered in mud. In real combat situations, you don't get to choose when to rest. Our cadets learn to function effectively even when pushed beyond normal human limits. The delegation observed as instructors introduced new challenges: reduced visibility, simulated injuries, equipment failures. Instead of deteriorating, the cadets' teamwork appeared to strengthen under increased pressure. Most irregular, Krelax noted. Their performance metrics show improvement despite physical degradation. This defies standard combat stress models. A new group arrived at the course, their uniforms indicating they had just completed a different training exercise. Without rest, they immediately began the obstacle course, sharing knowledge with those already on the field. We call it stress inoculation, Colonel Chen explained. Each challenge builds resistance to future stressors. The more they endure, the more they can handle. The aliens watched as cadets adapted to increasingly difficult conditions. When night vision equipment failed, they switched to manual navigation techniques. When communication devices malfunctioned, they seamlessly transitioned to hand signals. Your species deliberately seeks out hardship? Zixtal asked, observing a cadet helping an exhausted teammate while carrying additional equipment. We seek growth, Colonel Chen corrected. Every obstacle overcome today makes tomorrow's challenges easier to face. Watch what happens next. The instructors announced a sudden scenario change. Simulated casualties needed immediate evacuation. Despite their exhaustion, the cadets rapidly reorganized, some carrying their wounded teammates while others provided security. Their endurance extends beyond physical limits, Venra observed. Their cognitive functions remain remarkably stable despite extreme fatigue. A cadet who had been struggling moments before found renewed strength when called to help others. The aliens noted how human performance seemed to improve when the mission focused on saving teammates rather than individual achievement. The body can be trained to endure much more than most believe possible, Colonel Chen said. But the true test is maintaining clear judgment and decision-making under extreme conditions. As if to demonstrate this point, the cadets were suddenly presented with a complex tactical problem to solve while completing their physical tasks. Their responses remained sharp, drawing on training and experience despite their exhaustion. Zixtal added to their report, human military training deliberately induces physical and mental stress beyond normal tolerance levels. This produces warriors capable of maintaining combat effectiveness long after our models predict deterioration. The commander watched as another group arrived for their turn at the course, their eyes showing fatigue but determination. "How long does this training continue?" they asked. "Until they understand that their limits are self-imposed," Colonel Chen replied. "In our experience, that's the most valuable lesson any warrior can learn." The sound of cadets encouraging each other echoed across the training ground, their voices steady despite the rain and exhaustion. To the aliens' growing concern, they seemed to be growing stronger, not weaker, as the challenges mounted. The command center buzzed with activity as diverse teams of cadets coordinated a complex joint operation. High Commander Zixtal observed multiple groups, each bringing distinct backgrounds and specialties to their assigned tasks. "Today's exercise demonstrates our integrated approach to team operations," Colonel Chen explained, gesturing to the various stations. "Notice how each cadet contributes unique perspectives to solve common challenges." A team of 6 cadets caught the commander's attention. One applied theoretical physics to calculate orbital trajectories, while another used their background in wilderness survival to plan emergency protocols. Their different approaches merged seamlessly into a comprehensive strategy. "You deliberately combine individuals with disparate specialties?" Venra asked, noting how each team contained a mix of technical and practical expertise. "This seems to contradict efficient organizational structure." Colonel Chen directed their attention to a holographic display where cadets from engineering and tactical backgrounds collaborated on a complex problem. Diversity of thought creates resilience. When one approach fails, another perspective often reveals the solution. A cadet with a background in classical music was coordinating communication patterns based on symphonic structure, creating an elegant system that surprised even the alien observers. Nearby, a former architect applied building design principles to planetary defense strategies. "Most intriguing," Zixtal noted. "They appear to translate skills from unrelated fields into military applications." The exercise intensified as instructors introduced multiple system failures. A cadet with agricultural experience suggested using irrigation principles to reroute power systems, while a former artist developed a visual coding system for silent communication. "Your species encourages unconventional knowledge application," Krelax asked, their threat assessment protocols struggling to categorize this approach. "We've learned that innovation often comes from unexpected sources," Colonel Chen responded. "Every cadet brings a unique perspective shaped by their previous experiences. In combination, they create solutions no single viewpoint could achieve." The delegation watched as teams rotated positions, each cadet adapting their specialties to new roles. A linguistics expert applied language pattern recognition to decrypt enemy communications, while a former chef organized supply lines using kitchen management principles. They adapt their civilian skills for military applications, Venra observed with growing interest. This creates unpredictable tactical innovations. A sudden crisis scenario forced teams to merge and reorganize. Rather than causing confusion, the mixing of different groups sparked new ideas. Cadets quickly identified how their diverse backgrounds could complement each other. "This is what we call cognitive diversity in action," Colonel Chen explained. Each cadet learns not only to apply their unique perspective, but to actively seek out and incorporate others' viewpoints. The aliens observed as a team solved a complex engineering problem using principles from dance choreography, ancient architecture, and modern physics. The solution was unconventional but undeniably effective. "Your training encourages this level of creative integration?" Zixtal asked, watching as cadets combined seemingly unrelated fields into cohesive strategies. "We don't just encourage it, we require it," Colonel Chen replied. "The challenges of modern warfare demand adaptability that can only come from embracing diverse perspectives." The exercise concluded with teams presenting their solutions. Each group had approached the same problems differently, yet all achieved their objectives. The variety of methods demonstrated the strength of their collaborative approach. Zixtal added to their report, Human military effectiveness is enhanced by their practice of combining diverse cognitive approaches. Their teams demonstrate dangerous unpredictability due to their ability to apply knowledge across traditional boundaries. As they prepared to leave the command center, a final demonstration showed cadets using their combined backgrounds to develop entirely new tactical doctrines. The sight of humans rapidly evolving their military theory through diversity of thought clearly unsettled the alien observers. Remember, Colonel Chen concluded, "In unity we find strength, but in diversity we find solutions." That's what makes our approach unique. We don't just accept differences, we actively seek them out as a force multiplier. The sound of cadets excitedly sharing insights across specialties followed the delegation as they departed, each new combination of perspectives creating potential strategies that defied conventional military wisdom. High Commander Zixtal sat in their temporary quarters at West Point, holographic displays showing footage from the past 3 days of observation. Their appendages moved rapidly across multiple interfaces as they composed their final report to the Hegemony High Command. Priority level: immediate. Classification: highest restricted. Subject: Human Military Training Assessment. 2. Hegemony Strategic Command. After thorough observation of human military training methodologies at their West Point Academy, I must emphasize several critical findings that require immediate strategic reconsideration of our approach to human military capabilities. The commander paused, reviewing footage of cadets adapting to equipment failures by creating innovative solutions from seemingly primitive materials. Their sensory appendages twitched as they continued writing. Primary observation: human military preparation defies conventional classification. Their methodology appears primitive upon initial assessment, but reveals layers of sophisticated complexity through extended observation. They do not train soldiers, they cultivate warriors with unprecedented adaptive capabilities. Venera entered the room with additional data analyses, neural pattern studies of the cadets showing remarkable adaptation rates. Commander, our predictive models cannot accurately forecast human military responses based on current parameters. Zixtal incorporated this information into their report. Critical finding 1. Humans intentionally train under imperfect conditions. Their effectiveness increases with system degradation, suggesting our standard disruption tactics may actually enhance their combat capabilities rather than degrade them. Outside the window, even in the darkness, cadets continued their training exercises. The sound of their coordinated movements and disciplined responses carried through the night air. Critical finding 2. Their educational approach combines historical knowledge with modern innovation in ways our tactical databases cannot predict. They view their entire military history as a living document of lessons to be adapted rather than obsolete data to be archived. Colonel Chen's earlier words echoed in the commander's mind as they reviewed footage from the Strategic Development Center. The mind can be the greatest weapon or the greatest vulnerability. Critical finding 3. Human cognitive training produces warriors capable of abstract problem-solving beyond our current combat parameters. Their emphasis on creative thinking and adaptation makes their responses to tactical situations dangerously unpredictable. Krelax arrived with the final threat assessment analysis, their usual confidence noticeably shaken. Commander, their training methodology suggests capabilities far beyond our initial estimates. Critical finding 4. Their focus on diversity of thought and background creates unit dynamics that our standard division tactics cannot effectively counter. Each human warrior possesses multiple areas of expertise that can be adapted to combat situations. The commander included detailed footage of cadets performing complex operations with minimal resources, demonstrating remarkable unit cohesion under extreme stress. Strategic recommendation: current hegemony military doctrine requires comprehensive revision regarding human combat capabilities. Their training methods produce warriors who thrive in conditions our forces are trained to avoid. Standard containment protocols will prove ineffective. Through the window, the sound of cadets beginning their morning routine could be heard. Despite the previous day's challenges, their voices remained strong and disciplined. Final assessment. The human approach to military training demonstrates a fundamental truth we have overlooked. Their apparent technological disadvantages have forced them to develop superior adaptability. They have turned their limitations into advantages in ways our doctrine never considered possible. Zickstall added a personal observation. Most concerning is their ability to maintain morale and unit cohesion under conditions that should break their spirit. They appear to draw strength from adversity in ways our psychology models cannot explain. The commander transmitted their final recommendation. Based on comprehensive analysis of their training methods, I strongly advise against any military engagement with human forces. Their preparation methodology suggests combat capabilities far beyond our current tactical understanding. They do not train to fight wars. They train to win them through whatever means necessary. As the report transmitted to Hegemony Command, Zickstall watched the morning formation of cadets through their window. The precision of their movements belied the creative, adaptive minds that had so thoroughly disrupted the commander's understanding of military preparation. Colonel Chen's voice carried across the parade ground. Position of attention, class of 2025. The cadets responded with perfect precision, their unity and discipline a reminder of why the commander's report ended with a final, simple warning. Underestimate them at our peril.